Good afternoon and welcome back, everyone. We are here now with the second session, Placement of Mindfulness of Mind and Phenomena, Theory and Practice. For this, we have Dr. Arvind Alok, Chairman, Buddhist Monuments Development Council as the chairperson, and we have Venerable Geshe-Tenzin Dhamjala from Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, Dharamsala, Dr. Animesh Prakash, Assistant Professor in Pali, Department of Classical and Modern Languages, Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies, Varanasi, Venerable Lobim Pema Wangtala from Namdolling Monastery, Balakopi, Dr. Rana Pushrodam Ji, Assistant Professor, Department of Pali, Nav Nalanda Mahavira, Bihar. May I request all the speakers and chairperson to take their respective seats on the dais. Professor Arvind Alok, a luminary in the field of Buddhist and cultural tourism, religious unity and peace, is presently the Chairman, Buddhist Monuments Development Council and Director, Buddhist Academy of India and Cultural Heritage Institute. He has more than 25 years of teaching experience in colleges and university. He is a well-known Buddhist scholar, archaeologist, linguist, heritage conservator, motivator, and an author of repute on Buddhist philosophy, culture, tourism, and Indian studies. He is a devotee of Buddhist philosophy and fully dedicated to the cause of world peace through Lord Buddha's teaching. He has written over 10 books besides editing some journals of international repute. He has been invited a number of times by different countries as an expert on Buddhism and other related subjects. He has visited around 63 countries for his lectures. He received international acclamation for his contributions to religious unity, peace, agencies for his contributions in peace and promotion of human values. Now may I request Professor Arvind Alok to chair the session and continue with this second session of the conference. Thank you.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Respected Sangha, the chief guest of this auspicious conference, a special guest of honor, Professor S.R. Bhattaji, Director of Tibet House, Venerable Dorji Damul, distinguished panelists, respected members of this august house, monks, bhikkhunis, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Tibet House and the Director, Most Venerable Dorji, for inviting me to this very important and relevant conference on mindfulness. I also sincerely acknowledge my thanks to all those people who have been instrumental in shaping this conference, a very meaningful and fruitful one. Friends, this second session, which is going to focus on mindfulness, on mind and phenomena, we have four speakers. They are known in their own fields. They will present the papers and deliberate the different aspects of the subject. Before that, I'd like to submit to you as to how my experiment with mindfulness in the light of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta happened. This is my personal experience. Theory has been discussed, and I appreciate the papers presented since morning on the theoretical aspects of mindfulness in the light of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. I go back to Nalanda. I was born in Nalanda. I was brought up in Nalanda. And my encounter with mindfulness so happened 25 years ago, when my first book on Nalanda did appear, and the Princess of Thailand, Her Highness Sridhar, was on official visit to India, and she was in Nalanda. In my brief encounter with her, she arranged a 3-month course for me, and later on I was joined in this mindfulness and Satipaṭṭhāna course in Thailand by a professor of Magad University, Professor Esan Sahai. That time he was the head of the department. He was very senior, I was very junior. We both joined the course, and because we were the royal guest, the princess requested a very old senior monk. At that time, he was 89 years old. He was staying in the forest monastery, very confined to the forest and meditating day and night with eminent disciples who were in his service. The whole perception of life changed after 3 months of my experiment with Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta in the shape of mindfulness. Later on, in course of my different assignments, whether in teaching or in administration or foreign assignments, I did find how interesting and useful this mindfulness is. In the first session, one speaker rightly mentioned that mindfulness is not important simply for the liberation and to attain Buddhahood and enlightenment. It's also important to be away from all the sufferings, whether materialistic, family, individual, social, national, or international. The teaching of the Buddha, it's so relevant today that this particular method of meditation and mindfulness, one can eradicate all the sufferings for himself and for the humanity. I quote the teaching of the Buddha, and the first is Sabba papasya akaranam kusala saupasampada sachit paryad padam etam buddhana sasanam. The chit, the essence of Buddhism, focuses on chitta shuddhi, sanchetana, if in Sanskrit and Hindi say, mindfulness. This chitta, it's so important that because of chitta, the defilement happens, and also happiness happens. We choose which is good for us. Therefore, the method that Buddha directly shared after his enlightenment to his followers and the admirers and the common men and women was to make everyone free from all the sufferings, defilements, sorrows, and separation. Undoubtedly, this was also the method for enlightenment, the best path, the path which Buddha himself has experienced and encountered after many years of his practices shared with us. Therefore, in this present context, it's so important. Recently, I was in Scotland. We were doing a program for the British Army on mindfulness. A lady professor had invited me in January that please come and teach the forces who need good mindfulness. You will be surprised to know that many of the political leaders, Professor Tilak Ratne ji here, I had the rare privilege to address the Parliament of Sri Lanka and Thailand. And what was the subject? Subject was mindfulness. How it is useful for the politicians, for the administrators, for the policy makers, also everyone who so do matter in shaping the happiness of the society. Therefore, this session will focus on mindfulness and phenomena. I quote a translation from Pali to Hindi, which I did myself when I was very, very young, and my master was Dr. U. Dharmaratna. The first batch of scholars came to India at the instance of that time government, when Professor Jagdish Kashyap, Venerable U. Dharmaratna, Venerable Ujagra ji from Myanmar, they had come to teach Pali and Buddhism. They were in Nalanda as a young, very, very young boy, because my father was doing the PhD in Pali that time, the first batch there. I could learn. And then I translated some of the suttas in a very boyish type of language. I quote now because it's very important. And that is सर्व आलोकित मन प्रधानता सर्वत्र व्याप्त फल मनानुसार है, जैसे पहिया घूमता बैल पग पश्चात. Whatever we do, the master is the mind. Therefore, this mindfulness is useful for everyone, irrespective of caste, creed, and religion. And this Buddhist way of empowering mindfulness is popular not only in India, around the world. 3 months before, I had the rare privilege to visit Lhasa, Tibet, and I was just speaking there. I could see the language was the barrier, but somehow I managed to meet some of the masters there. Even in Potla Palace, hardly 2-3 masters were there, but other places, they were also doing meditation. So whether it is in Theravada tradition, or in Vajrayana tradition, or Mahayana tradition, as mentioned by the scholars, that this Nalanda tradition, where Santi Deva and Ashanga, also in their commentaries, very illustriously mentioned the very essence of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, and they practiced. Many of the masters of the past and present contributed to this enrichment treasure of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta in different ways. Therefore, this organization of a conference on such a beautiful topic, which will impact everyone, whether old, young, child, or one who is going to take birth also, is very important. I would like to quote the teaching of the Buddha, and that is, Nahi vairena vairani samanti dha kudachanam avairena cha samanti esa dhamma sanatanu. This has no relevance with this mindfulness, but I quote it in the light of these conflicts and disharmony in the society that is happening everywhere in the world. The teaching of the Buddha, it's so important. Therefore, this Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, I say, is the truth of the teaching of the Buddha, the essence of the teaching of the Buddha. With these words, I once again acknowledge my sincere thanks to the director and Tibet House to invite me and share some of the experiences with you. Now, other speakers will present the papers, and I am sure with this deliberation of this second session will contribute to a very marvelous attainment of results through this conference and in the light of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now, our first speaker is Venerable Geshe Tenzing Domche, and I should read also some. Oh, yes. Venerable Geshe Tenzing Domche first attended lower TCB school, then TCB Commerce. He did his Bachelor of Commerce from St. Fomin's College of Mysore University. He then joined the Institute of Buddhist Dialectic School, where he studied Buddhist philosophy for 16 years and was awarded the Geshe degree from Dirupang Losong Monastery of South India. At present, he is working at Sara College for Higher Tibetan Studies in Dharamshala as a coordinator to the foreign colleges and lecturer of Buddhist philosophy and practice. He is also teaching Buddhist philosophy and practices to the Artham College students of USA and Tibet Fund students. He also teaches at the Oxford University of England and Oriental Institute as a visiting professor. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Venerable Geshe Tenzing Domche.
Buddham Shanam Gacchami, Dhammam Shanam Gacchami, Sangham Shanam Gacchami. Respected Chairperson, members of Sangha community, and my dear brothers and sisters, first of all, good afternoon. Then I would like to say thank you for having me over here to the Tibet House and to the director, Geshe Dushin Amdullah. So, my topic on the mindfulness, on the mind and phenomena. Then at the same time, I've just prepared the other one too, for my talk, and mindfulness. So, yeah. When the mind is distracted from the object to something else, one recognizes it immediately and places it back on the object. So most of us, we get lost. So at the same time, when we get distracted, then we have to pull our back, like showing a mindfulness and focus on what we are doing and what's my aim and objective. Most of us, we want happiness in our life and we don't want suffering. But we forget to show the mindfulness, and we sow the seed of suffering, so of anger, hatred, desire. So these are the disadvantages of not showing a mindfulness. So we used to bully each other, we used to look down upon each other, and we pull the leg of someone else, rather than having a kind of rejoicement. we feel jealousy, we feel hatred, and we want to develop a wisdom, but everybody thinks that, oh, I'm like a Shantideva, I can sleep and realize, but it's not a cup of tea for everyone, isn't it? Then at the same time, while eating the food, what happens? We thought, I'm eating beans, but we are eating the green chili. Then it burns our mouth by not showing a mindfulness. Then at the same time, let's say, while we had the lunch over here a few minutes back, most of us thinking about the past and the future. We are not thinking about the present. That's why we haven't noticed what are the textures, the cooks that they have used, the ingredients, and what I'm eating. We are lost in the past and the present, and we are not enjoying the food, the gift, the taste, right? So sometimes, rather than thinking, oh, I'm eating the beans, we are eating the chili. Then at the same time, now these days, lots of youngsters, they die earlier than the elders. Why? Because of the road accidents. Music, WhatsApp, we need to send a message and get banged, right? Then also at the same time, the selfies. In Dharamsala, we have got a place called Tune where we go for the hiking. And it's true that some youngsters, they have died while taking selfies. Like that. So now, because of their action, the government has made a compulsory to register for the tracking. In the earlier times in Dharamsala, we can go for tracking whenever we like. Now, because of some incidents of these things, not showing a mindfulness, now we have to register. And after 11 a.m., the police officers, they don't let us to go for the hiking. Now happiness, the short-term happiness and the long-term happiness. As for the short-term happiness, what? And as for the long-term happiness, what? So as for the short-term happiness, let's say, think about of the daily lives while we eat food, and rather than being judgmental all the times to the others, one should judge oneself. Then also the breathing, all these things. And also visualize thoughts. Now with the long-term happiness, so mindfulness meditation, so I will just skip. Why? Because this morning some of the presentations, the presenters, like they have presented already, so it will be a kind of repetitive and you will get bored. So I will just skip the things that I have told you already, okay? So here, the reasons for showing the mindfulness is to follow the Four Noble Truths. Then, let's say, with the body, this morning we have discussed about the impurities and all these things. Then, the Shantideva says, and that when we talk about the impurities, think about the impurities of the body, how, like, let's say, the corpse, the body, when it's peeled, the skins are peeled by the vultures, and still will you get attached to it. Then in the normal way, in the English, what do we say is the beauty, but skin deep, right? So still will you get attached to it. So all these things. Then with the Bodhisattva, the guide to the Bodhisattva way of life, the Shantideva says, the body is neither feet nor calves. Okay, I will just skip it. Why? Because this morning we have discussed these things already. Then with the feelings, to clinging, to enjoyed by me, we get anger, we get like disgusted, we get fear, sadness, and joy. By the way, have you watched this movie? No. And also with the happiness we feel desire, and also we talked this morning already. So with the mind, So let's say when we come to the mind, so we are like the projector, and the others, the screen. With a white screen board, like if we just show the white color, it will get white. If it's get a red color, it will get red. If it's a blue color, it will appear as a blue. So when we are happy, we see others as good. When we are angry, what happens? We see others as bad. And when we are angry, when someone tells you a good thing, still we heard it totally opposite way. So actually it's the mind who has to control. Then a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, Shantideva, what he says, when there is no truly existence, identity of the person that feels, and not truly existence, feeling ether, having seen this situation, why do I not turn away the carving to obtain pleasure and be separated from the pain? So since we live either in the past or in the future, we are not able to enjoy the present moment, the satisfaction and the happiness. And most of us, we just go and pursue our happiness from outside. Actually, what we need to do is we need to discover from the within. So in the economic, what do they say? Human desires are unlimited. And the law of marginal utility and law of diminishing return. In the Buddhism, what do you say? The suffering of change. The pleasure turning into suffering. If we try to seek the happiness from outside, from the material values, we won't get the real happiness. The happiness, what we will get through is satisfaction, showing a contentment from the within. So past brings the depression, future brings the anxiety, and we miss the gift of the present moment. So over here, mind clinging to thinking that it's the nature of I. And when do we experience I? Most of us think that, oh, I experience, I is there. But do we really feel it? When we try to introspect, when we try to judge. So when do we feel that I? When someone tells you a bad thing in front of all the students or with the colleagues, you! What happened? Huh? And also at the time of the danger of your life, something is going to happen to me. That I comes, right? But most of the time we don't experience that I. So when we come to realize the nature of mind and the ultimate truth, then we don't fear. Otherwise, when we talk about the emptiness, then we think, if everything is emptiness, then who am I? We get fear. But the people who doesn't know anything, who don't try to introspect, they won't feel anything. Their feelings will be neutral. So, what do we say? When we are in the public, watch your words. When you are alone, watch your thoughts. Why do we think now these days so many youngsters, they are committing suicide? Despite having everything. And why do we feel loneliness? Despite enjoying a time with the family, with the friends, with the community. Why? I, the mind, the unguarded thoughts. And that's why in the modern psychology, when we talk about staying as separate, so in the modern psychology, they tell us, oh, he or she might have a social disorder. But as for us, like thinking about guarding the unguarded thoughts, right? It helps to understand who am I. Like the mirror, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs standing in front of the mirror, the witch. Mirror, mirror, tell me who is the most fairest girl of all. Like the same way, while doing a meditation, mind, what was my motivation? It is a conditional or unconditional. If it's conditional, then there's an expectation. When we have expectation, then we get short temper every time. If it's unconditional, we feel happy. No matter whether the other person responds back improperly or not. Now with the mind, it's the self. Is it a unitary or clean or permanent? Now comes the true truth, the ultimate truth, and the conventional truth. Now with the science talking about the emptiness and the quantum physics, let's not discuss this one. Why? Because otherwise then I have to divert. And in the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, what it says is, Shantideva, and if the consciousness came into existence after the object of which it is conscious, then from what object could it arise? Since the object would have ceased by the time the consciousness arose, the consciousness would have no object. Now with the phenomena clinging, since it is clinging to that I, talks about the phenomena. Now, I want happiness. We have talked about the cessation. Now comes the truth of path. By doing a prayer, will it give us a happiness? For thousands of years, for centuries, we were doing a prayer, but still we don't get the happiness. Why? We think that by doing only prayer, we would get the happiness. The sages do not wash away our non-virtues with water. They do not dispel beings suffering with their hands. Their realization cannot simply be transferred. They liberate by revealing the true nature of things attributed. Now, we think, sometimes it's so strange. I always used to discuss with my parents and with my friends. Though we believe in the karma, but the way we do is believing in the Creator and the creation. We do the divination, and at the time of examination, when we were young, what do? Is we put the holy seat over here. And the principal, he noticed that, and what he said to the assembly, "You scoundrel fellow! It's not the God who is coming to give the exam, it's you who has to give the exam." And thinking that, they will help us. We don't go to the let's say, rather than going to the hospitals, we do the prayers, thinking that by doing this prayer, it will help me. We are not being practical and realistic, thinking about our own karma and our own causes. What I have done? We just put kind of like hand wash and tell others to do it. It's kind of like letting the other people to recharge their mobile and thinking that it will recharge my mobile. Right? So at the time of death, for the whole life, we keep on cheating people, we fights with others. Then thinking that, when I pass away, the families, they will do the prayers and it will help me. No. So sometimes I always used to tell to my the brothers and sisters and my dad and mom, you guys are much more worse than the people who believes in the Creator and the creation. We should think about our own karma. And for that, what we have to do, the Buddha says, by blessing, by rinsing some splinters of waters on our head, it won't help us to rinse. We have to do it by ourselves. The teachings of the Buddha is of two types, the scriptural and realization teachings. The preservation of is through to study and meditation respectively. To study. And his only says, we should be a 21st century Buddhist practitioner. What does the 21st century Buddhist practitioner mean? hold the mobile, hold the laptop, and you become the 21st century Buddhist practitioner? No. Blind faith is outdated. Now, what we have to do, we have to develop a faith through the help of wisdom. For that, by praying, it will help us to develop? No. We need to study. Then Buddha says, "Dear fellow Sanghas, don't follow me ignorantly, blindly, by saying that I'm a great teacher, great learned. Like the goldsmith, melt the gold, tear the gold. If it's a pure gold, keep it. Like the same way, analyze on my teaching. If it's helping you, practice it. Otherwise, forget it." So it clearly shows it's nothing to do with the dogmatic. It's something to do with the logic. So, it's so strange. My elder brother, he said, "Buddhism is so simple, it's so easy. What you need to do is, you should have a good warm heart, that's it." And I used to tell him, then for the geishas and the lopens, why do they have to study for 21 years, 16 years, 9 years, like that? We need to understand. Not through the, with a blind faith, but through the wisdom. We need to study what is impermanence. The subject, water, is impermanent because of being produced. How it is impermanent? Now that's science, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist religion. Okay, Buddhist science says it's a fact. Now Buddhist comes philosophy, the possibilities. By moving, changing its color. Sorry. Okay. I always call it Murphy's Law. Okay. So we need to study. So by prayer, it won't help us. It will, but not completely. So the Shantideva, what he says is, when the object of analysis has been analyzed and established to be empty, the analytic mind is found not to have object as its basis. Thus, there is no truly existent object. Even without analysis, a truly existent analytical mind cannot arise from it. Now, with the generalization way of thinking, the four seals of Dharma, not thinking only about oneself, the subject Tamche. Now what we can say, the subject, all the mother sentient beings. Now comes with a generalization. Then comes, all compounded things are impermanent, all emotions are painful, all phenomena are empty, they are without the inherent existence. Nirvana is beyond extreme or peace. The Buddha says, experience. If we practice love, compassion, kindness, then you will experience the sheer joy and happiness. When we discuss along with the friends, I always used to tell them, is it from here or is it from here? So if we experience, not only by praying, by studying, not thinking that these philosophies, as considering it as only an academic, but also at side by side by practicing it, then we will feel the sheer joy and happiness. Doesn't just wish for peace, he works for it. Then he became from Siddhartha to Buddha. By doing only prayer, he won't become Siddhartha to Buddha. In the end, no pain, no gain. Right? Then in the science, what does it say? Every action has a equivalent opposite reaction. And in the end, I would like to end with one word of karma. Welcome to the Karma Cafe. We don't have any menu. You will serve what you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Geshe, the wonderful presentation and your last that sentence, no gain without pain, and I quote here, I take the opportunity to quote the teaching of the Buddha, and Buddha says, Sukarani sadhuni attano hitani cha pamte hitascha sadhuscha tamare param dukkharam. All big things have to be done after suffering something like that. So thank you so much for your beautiful presentation, and especially your presentation on the practical aspects and feeling of mindfulness. Now let us invite the younger scholar, Dr. Aminesh Prakash, Assistant Professor of Pali, Department of Classical and Modern Languages, and I would like to read out something about him which is very beautiful. And Dr. Aminesh Prakash is Assistant Professor in Pali in the Department of Classical and Modern Languages at Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies, Sarnath. Previously, he was serving as Assistant Professor in Pali at Somaiya Center of Buddhist Studies, Mumbai. His areas of research in Pali language and Theravada Abhidhamma philosophy. Currently, he is working on the transmission of Theravada discourse in Tibetan canon. So let us hear Dr. Aminesh Prakash.
Thank you, sir. Namote Purisajanya, Namote Purisuttam, Yasate Nabhija Nama, Yang Pinisaya Jayasi, Sange Gagdang Depa Dang, Datar Jungtag Majumpa, Thamche Lani Dakchakchel, Kyola Dagni Kapsuchi. Respected chairperson of this session, Dr. Arvind Alokji, venerable monks and nuns, honorable scholars and participants. Being thankful to the organizers, I am going to present my paper titled as Placement of Mindfulness of Mind and Phenomena, Theory and Practice as a part of four mindfulness teaching of the Buddha. See, Aurobindo, everybody knows Aurobindo, says that even a one drop of practice is better than an ocean of theories and a lot of resolutions. No matter what Buddhist tradition do we follow, the Buddhist meditation is the gem, the heart of Buddha's teaching. The Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta is among the most significant and well-known early Buddhist discourses. It consists a detailed and full exposition of fourfold placement of mindfulness and clearly shows how the application of mindfulness of body, feeling, consciousness, and phenomena are firmly established. The core teachings of the historical Buddha is said to be the direct path for vanishing the negative emotion present in our mind and for the realization of Nibbana. It is my humble attempt through this paper to share my understanding on how placement of mindfulness of mind and phenomena function as a form of meditative practice as reflected in Theravada Buddhist discourses. In this regard, all 16 sets of consciousness as given in the Chittanupassana section and fivefold practices of Dhammanupassana will be discussed in this paper. Moreover, I would like to explore the internal, external instruction of mind. There are two discourses in Pali, the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta of Majjhima Nikaya and the Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta of Digha Nikaya, which particularly teaches the practice of mindfulness meditation. However, the bare outline of the same fourfold Satipaṭṭhāna is discussed in several sutta of other two early Nikayas, namely the Samyukta Nikaya and Anguttara Nikaya. Needless to say here that the post-canonical literature, such as commentaries, sub-commentaries, manuals, and other later writings, details about the similar practice in an instructive manner. Apart from the Theravada exposition, the Satipaṭṭhāna discourse is also well preserved in Chinese and Sanskrit sources. As in the last session and last session, we have seen the fourfold foundation of mindfulness. There are four aspects of the mindfulness, that is body, feeling, mind, and phenomena. So there are 21 meditative techniques as discussed in the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. 14 belong to body, one feeling, one mind, and one phenomena. The method or the instruction, the formula for practicing all the aspect, the formula is the same. I just take the example of mind aspect here, and the formula is with regard to the mind, one dwells contemplating the mind. The first threefold practice is there: internally, externally, and both. The second practice is arising, passing away, and both. And the third is mindfulness, that there is a mind is placed in him or her to extent necessary for bare knowledge and mindfulness, and one dwells independent, anisito, not clinging, upadhyati, to anything in the sansar. He has to justify. So there are three perspectives of the training. Each of the Satipatthanas are detailed by the way of aggregate, temperament, and insight. So it means that based on your temperament, you have to decide which Satipatthana is best suit to you. It is not that we say that this aspect is better than this. It is all up to your temperament. When we practice Chittanupassana, there are two types of mind. 16 sets of mind are divided into two sets, that is ordinary mind and higher mind. We'll discuss in the Chittanupassana section. And in the Dhammanupassana practice, we have 5 sets on which we contemplate. The first is 5 hindrances, Panchanivarana, that is sensual passion, Kamachand, Vyapad, ill will, thin myth, sloth and torpor, and Udhach Kukuch, that is excitement and worry, and Vichikicha, that is perplexity. The second is 5 aggregate, that is Roop, Vedna, Sanya, Sankhar, and Vijnana Skandha. Then 6 spheres, 6 internal, 6 external, 7 factors of awakening, Sat Bodhjang, and then 4 noble truth. So these are the aspects on which a meditator contemplate. Now we have to see why the Chittanupassana, that is the contemplation of mind, is suitable to whom? Who can practice? The person, in the commentary it is said, the person who is dull and theorizer. Theorizer here, it means that who has a tendency for making theory, for making concept, who has a tendency for dikti. For them it suits, it is recommended. Again, for Dhammanupassana, who can do this, who can practice? For this sharp theorizer, who is the person who is so smart, but again he has a tendency for dikti. He make concept in his mind. In terms of aggregate, that is Sankhara, and in terms of aggregate, that is Skandha, it is equivalent, it is said equivalent to the Vijnana Skandha, Vijnana Khand, that is the aggregate of consciousness in the commentary. And again, if you see the Dhammanupassana, that is contemplation on phenomena, it is equivalent to perception and volition, that is Sanya Skandha and Sankhara Khand. In terms of insight, what will you get if you practice Chittanupassana, that is contemplation of mind? You will comprehend the impermanence of the impermanence nature of reality. Whereas if you really qualify in the Dhammanupassana, the contemplation of phenomena, you can comprehend the no soul nature of all reality. But before we start practice, we need to have some prerequisite mental qualities with us. That is, there are 3. First is ardent, that is atapi. Second is clearly comprehending, and third is mindfulness. The commentary of Majjhima Nikaya, that is Papan Sudni, says that lacking any of these 3 qualities, it may cause failure to your practice. You may feel there is a vipalas, that is hallucination. You may feel that you are qualifying, you are developing yourself. Your graph is very high, higher and higher. But this is just an illusion if you don't have this. Now, in the last slide, we have seen that mind is divided into 2 parts. There are 16 consciousness on which we have to contemplate. First is ordinary and higher mind, which you can see here. Under the category of ordinary mind, there are 4 types of mind, which a meditator has to practice with and without. Means whether it is present or absent. With presence and absence of lust, hatred, and deluded. These 3 are the basic unwholesome roots. And the 4th is distracted, that is vikit. This is the unwholesome mental state. Second category is higher, where we have four consciousness, that is great, unsurpassable, concentrated, and liberated. One by one, I can explain it. I can explain all those consciousness. But before that, I would like to, because we have a limited time, I would like to discuss some of the problems which I personally feel that we should discuss, because everything that is in the sutta. Now, I would like to discuss here that what is written in the canon, how the commentator describe it, and how practitioner take it, and what we can review, what we can understand. That is okay that people say that just do not talk about meditative practice, just do. That is the other side. But we have to practice, and we should share our experience so that we can understand what mark we get in terms of meditation. So the Dhammanupassana is during contemplation, when meditator knows the higher state of mind. Higher state of mind is that those four states. By that moment, mind automatically go for deeper concentration and investigate those mental factors which actually obstruct the path. Here a meditator proceeds with hindrances, the first phenomena of the placement of mindfulness of phenomena. This is how there is a bridge. The bridge is made from Chittanupassana to Dhammanupassana. We have fivefold practices we have already seen. Now, I would like to explore, I would like to show you how Ajatang, that is internal, Bahidha, that is external, and both Ajatang, Bahidha is discussed in the canon. It is said in canon and commentary that Ajat, that is internal, is Attanu, it is oneself, and Bahidha is Paras, that is others. Others means others' body, others' feeling, others' mind, and other Dhamma, right? There is no problem in the first and the third part, that is internal and external. The main problem here is external. First, I should ask you that how do meditators contemplate other people bodily phenomena such as breathing in, breathing out? Second question is, how do meditators contemplate the mental phenomena of other person such as miscellaneous state of mind? So, for yourself, you are responsible, you understand the thing, but what will you do if you have to practice externally? In terms of commentarial explanation, in terms of canonical explanation. See, now we can see the commentary says that Bahidha is Paras, others. Here also two questions arises. Do you realize others' body, feeling, and other aspects with direct experience or with inference? There are two questions arises. How you practice? So in terms, and the practitioners says, many practitioners says, like I have written, the Atano is oneself. They believe that, okay, Atano is oneself. And also Majjhima Nikaya say that Bahidha is Sukha-jhan. Sukha-jhan is here in a sense of inner happiness. And in some of the sutta and the commentary, it is said that it is Bahidha is something like mind door, whereas internal or Ajatang is like five sense door in the commentary. Like if you see again in the Digha Nikaya, it says that the Bahidha is, the fourth column is only on the Bahidha part. It says that par kaya par dhamma. Here it should be noted that the feeling and consciousness is absent. First point. Second point is the Pauk Sayadaw, the Burmese tradition, one of the Burmese tradition claims that one should practice externally by direct experience, not by inference. As per his opinion, it is his opinion. Again, Goenka, if you see Acharya Goenkaji, he explains contemplating the mind, experience and object from outside. Again, Bhikkhu Analyo, in his very wonderful book, the Satipaṭṭhāna, the Direct Way, he claims that he interprets that according to this Vibhanga Sutta, that the internal, that is Ajatang, is mind door, external is five sense, not always appropriate. This internal external formula not always appropriate to all aspects. But there is one thing that we can find in the canon also. People say that you can practice Bahidha by supernatural powers, because in Abhidhamma it is claimed that if you are really qualified in material lok, if you are qualified in the Rupa Vacharchit, you have 5 or 6 types of Abhinya, that is supernatural power. And among 6 supernatural powers, there is Parchitta Vijanan, means knowing others' mind. If this is the case, I am saying if this is the case, if you really feel, if you really realize that I have those powers, then of course you can understand the other's feeling externally. But if it is absent, then it is up to you how you take it. So I'm just keeping this question for the discussion and the question answer session. Other thing is that can we realize Nibbana by practicing a single Satipaṭṭhāna? Single Satipaṭṭhāna means any of the 4 aspects, like body, feeling, mind, and phenomena. See, there are different practitioners. All practitioners support. Sometimes, see, the Goenkaji, I take the example of Acharya Goenkaji. He always says that Vedana samosarana sabbe dhamma. Everything that arises in mind, that comes from sensation. So sensation is of utmost important, and one should realize feeling. In short, one should do Vedananupassana, the one Satipaṭṭhāna. If you take other practitioner, they may say something other. If you see the Thailand Ajahn Chah tradition, just here and now, don't even think there is a body, there is a feeling, there is consciousness, or there is phenomena, just here and now. So it depends on the perspective of the meditator. So even in the Anapanasati Sutta of Majjhima Nikaya, it is said that even one Satipaṭṭhāna can lead you to the Nibbana. Right. And there are many other Samyukta Nikaya, in many other suttas in Samyukta Nikaya, it also claims if you practice one Satipaṭṭhāna, you can realize the Nibbana. So sometimes it is very hard to very hard to merge the theory as written, as compiled in the canon with practice. I can take one example of Dr. Ujjwal Kumar ji presentation, his enlightening lecture, and he said that he gave the example of 3 students. There were 3 students, and there were 3 types of students, Buddha's students. 3 categories, we should say. Like some students listen the Buddha, some students do not listen the Buddha, and some listen and some not listen. So Buddha had only neutral feeling. Buddha was not in a pleasant state, not unpleasant state. He had a neutral feeling, right? I'm sure that this senior professor has quoted from Majjhima Nikaya, because in the Samyukta Nikaya, there is a Salayatan Vibhang Sutta. The same example is there. And we have the same parallel in Chinese, in the Ekottaragama, and in Tibetan. In Tibetan, it is Samathadev Upayik Sutra. It is written the 3 examples. That the Buddha had neutral feeling. But if you see the Salayatan Vibhang Sutta in Pali, Buddha had 3 feelings. To those who were learning sincerely, Buddha had pleasant feeling. For those who were not listening properly, Buddha had unpleasant feeling. For some students who were sometimes listening, not listening, there was a neutral feeling. So sometimes this theory we cannot merge into practice. Sometimes we have to use our mind whether it must be an error. I assume. Let me correct if anybody. It must be a compilation error, because it is not suited with the Buddhist principle and practice anymore. So sometimes we have to be very careful what texts say and how we have to practice. In the last session, Geshe-ma has nicely started with the Mahapragya Paramita, and I am also, I'm just concluding now, like that is, she said about the unique pattern of Satipaṭṭhāna very nicely, and if I had to say something like, in Mahapragya Paramita Shastra also said this, I have quoted from there, that having investigated the body, the meditator searches for the cause of attachment to it, which is found to be pleasant feeling. Investigating feeling, the question, who experience feeling, arises leading to the contemplation of mind. This in turn form a basis for an inquiry into the causes and condition of mind, being the focus of contemplation of phenomena. So this is taken from Pragya Paramita Sutta. It is nowhere in Pali Canon, the same quote, but Theravada practitioner believe this. And somebody also in the last session says that in Theravada discourse, Satipaṭṭhāna, how to practice it is not clearly mentioned. Not instruction is not so helpful. But in the later centuries, in Tibetan or Chinese or in other literature, it is well instructed. So this is true. I also feel that yes, it is true that the practice in Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta or Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta, this is missing. The theory is given, but how to practice it is missing. It is better in Salistambatu Sutra and of course Bhavanakram of Kamal Shila. Now, after reading several texts, I just feel that I am happy with the Yanponika theory and Mahasi Sayadaw method, who says that our own bodily and mental processes are accessible to direct experience only. It cannot be through inference. Second point I want to say, in terms of practice only, yes, I am concluding, thank you. In terms of practice, I like Mahasi Sayadaw method, and because he interprets that contemplating others' body or mind, or as contemplating other body mind by inference, after having contemplated one's own mind and body. So before you investigate your own mind and body, and then you can practice others. And if you see the Sutta Nipata, the earliest reference of Buddhism, you can see in many verses that internal and external occur together in a sense of whatever there is, expressing a sense of comprehensiveness. This is also Analeo in his book he has written, and I think this is the best practice, that it is in a sense of comprehensiveness. And if I have to conclude myself in one line, I would say the more subjective experience can be seen objectively, the more identification diminishes. I am thankful to Geshe Doje Damdulji because I remember at Somaya Center for Buddhist Studies, Mumbai, he was there, and I had an opportunity to listen him. He was teaching the subjective and objective aspect of Pratitya Samutpat based on Salistamba Sutra, and it is very important, and this theory is absent nowhere in Pali Canon. So it is very important that do we really comprehend, do we really understand the object, means are we taking objectively or subjectively? That is very important. And lastly, I would like to say that Buddhist meditation system is entering from conditioned to unconditioned. Whether it is Theravada or Mahayana practitioners' goal, they differ in terms of technique and their philosophical position. Practice, however, does not determine by philosophical perspective, but by motivation. Those who are motivated to work for the welfare of all sentient beings then say Maha, great, as there is a greatness in terms of scope. So it is up to us that we want to become Maha, great, or in terms of motivation. As it is rightly said in the Chirattiti Sutta, that the Buddha Dhamma will not decline until the Satipaṭṭhāna meditation is developed and cultivated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Ramesh Prakash, for your wonderful presentation, a matured presentation from a young scholar, and your analytical method of depicting Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta in linguistically and philosophically is worth appreciating. Now, from the Theravada tradition, we switch over to Mahayana tradition, and it's our great privilege to have with us Venerable Lepon Pema Vandku from Bhutan, a land of scenic beauty and Buddhist faith. Venerable Pema Wangdam was born in Bhutan in 1985. He did all his schooling in Thimphu, Bhutan. After that, he had chosen a monastic life when he was 21 and enrolled in Nomdang Monastery, one of the well-known Tibetan Buddhist monasteries in Mysore, South India. In 2006, he started learning Tibetan language, grammars, ritual arts comprising Buddhist philosophy and practices pertaining to the Tibetan Buddhist tradition for several years. As an ordained monk, he started learning Buddhist philosophical texts for 9 years in Nongyo Nyingma Institute. He has completed his college 9 years course in 2015. Since then, he has been serving as a Buddhist and English teacher in the monastery. He has served as a manager and member of the Padmani Translation Committee, Educational Branch and Monastery. Currently, he is serving as a resident teacher in Bangalore Dhamma Center. Let us listen to Venerable Pema. And I greet you, Venerable. Just recently was your National Day celebration on 17th of December, and I had the honor to visit Bhutan that very day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chairperson Arvind Alok, respected distinguished guests, scholars, and my dear brothers and sisters. So, today I'm very honored to be here. So, I was asked to talk about the theory and practice of mind and phenomena from Mahayana perspective. So, in my presentation, I have introduction part and then a little bit of explanation, general explanation about the mindfulness, and then the detail, little bit more explanation or detailed explanation about my own topic, the close placement of mindfulness to mind and close placement of mindfulness to phenomena. So before I jump into my the real topic, so in the past few decades, the Buddha's teaching of mindfulness has gained a lot of interest from different fields like medications, therapy, psychology, and neuroscience, etc. It has been widespread and worked as a health remedy for mind-related illnesses in the contemporary world. Nevertheless, over this period of time, it has been beautifully integrated with modern psychology, thus undergoing many changes to refine it so that it can fit in the scientific world without including the religious elements. However, without this root understanding, it might become less beneficial, not only for the various practitioners, but also for the psychologists. So, the current discussion is intended for the further refine the bridge through harmonious dialogue between the two traditions of Buddhism, which is Theravada tradition and Mahayana tradition, as well as fostering the joint contribution of knowledge of humanity on the higher academic plane in order to build a moral human world, as mentioned by our organizers in the file. So it also attempts to understand the reason and balance between any inconsistency. The main purpose of our seminar is to balance and then reason out any inconsistent nuances about the mindfulness, especially today on this particular topic. So within the diverse Buddhist tradition, as well as with the modern subject of study like psychology, thus it seeks to fulfill the great vision of His Holiness Dalai Lama, bringing two traditions together based on some of the common teachings like mindfulness. So now I would like to take this invitation as an opportunity to learn profound teaching rather than like giving any inside knowledge which I don't possess. So now coming to the point, mindfulness. When you talk about mindfulness, so most of us, like especially our younger generation, they have the notion that mindfulness is being in the present, and then if that is the case, then or fully concentrating on particular things. As I have been working in the Dharma center, so I have met with many people coming that they cannot focus in particular subject. So they are asking me, like this, is there any mindfulness training? So the question arises: is mindfulness that the Buddha taught is being present, being putting full concentration in particular field? So if that is the case, then for instance, the sharpshooter in the army world, the sharpshooters. So are they practicing the mindfulness? So the question arises. So here the Buddha's teaching does not really relates to that one, because it is not something. Mindfulness should be in such a way that it is not harming others. Mindfulness is rather self-exploration of your own nature of your mind. So therefore, I would like to say that these are the confusions that our younger generations have. That mindfulness is like being focused on certain particular thing. And then about the mindfulness, then when I think about mindfulness, the important thing that I have thought is my colleague friends over here, they all are PhD masters, PhD holders. But I realized that I'm also a PhD holder. So I realized that I'm PhD holder in this mindfulness. And that mindfulness is also a mindfulness concentrating on self-cherishing attitude in the negative emotions. My mind is so mindful. My mind is so mindfulness in the negative emotions. So we are from the beginningless time so much focused, so that we don't have to force. We don't have to put any energy to that one. So just imagine, just relate that particular same technique in the right view, in the right thing. Because when we are doing this kind of mindfulness, when we are having that mindfulness in the presence of in the presence that are generated by our negative emotions, they are generated by our negative emotions, then what happens? It does not bring any happiness. It does not bring any peace that we are seeking for. So therefore, we have to divert that from the wrong thing towards the right in the same pace that we are doing in the negative. We are pursuing in the negative emotions. So that way, then you will be in the right direction. So now. My topic is on the mind first close placement of mindfulness of body, placement of mindfulness on mind. So when you talk about mind, just imagine mind is something very sophisticated. We say we are gulam of our mind. When we become the gulam of our mind, हम खुद मन के गुलाम बन जाती है, तो then we do many things. So here, never ever become gulam of your mind. So mindfulness, close placement of mindfulness is talking about not being gulam of your ordinary mind. So the definition of close placement of mindfulness of mind is like it should be thoroughly investigated. It should be thoroughly investigated with the wisdom, with the prajna that are generated from listening, contemplation, and meditation. So that kind of prajna should be applied on investigating. Once it is investigated, then after the investigation, then meditating, then keeping that into meditation, and then habituating again, make your habit on that. So that becomes the literal definition of close placement of mindfulness of mind. So this mind subject is very vast topic. So just imagine what kind of mind do we have? We have a mind of self-cherishing attitude. Sometimes, because of our attachment, we don't see our loved ones, even they do mistakes, we don't see as mistakes, even though in the reality it is mistake. And then if someone is telling the truth, because of our aversion, we don't see as a truth. So these are the small things that our mind is deceiving us. So with this kind of thing, then we are, even though we want happiness, there's no one in this whole universe that does not want happiness. All wants happiness, and all does not want suffering. But the difference lies on the basis of approach. And then at that approach comes from our mind. That approach is coming from our mind. And then when you don't have that right mindfulness, then what happens? Even though we don't want suffering, we are directed towards the way that creates us suffering. Sometimes it is said, some of the scholars said, oh, maybe in the heaven, people say heaven is very beautiful, but I doubt, because hardly anyone goes to heaven or nirvana. We can say, in the nirvana, or everyone is talking about miseries of the hell. But everyone is rushing, we all are rushing, and then making all the karmas that will make us go to the hell. So sometimes we wonder, so therefore, this mindfulness on mind is again important. So this mindfulness of mind will analyze, it will analyze. Oh, it is saying that nirvana is the real happiness. So what is the approach? Even though it is a peaceful, even though it's a happiness, why we are not able to go there? Even though the suffering, even the hell, we say, even though the hell is misery or bounded with sufferings, why we are rushing? Why we are accumulating lots of karma? That is making us to go towards the hell. So therefore, it is all the trick of our mind. So therefore, I always, especially the younger people, especially the young youth, I always encourage them that when they come for the teaching or meditation, it is sometimes I say that it is not only to do some spiritual, it is like training your mind. So we say that, and then in most of the time, Buddhism is well known as training the mind. So what to train the mind? What we have to train about the mind? We have to train about the mind because we are all so much, experience, expert in the wrong direction, taking our mind into wrong direction. So we all have done PhD in taking our mind to the wrong direction. So therefore now, Buddha found, like, there's a saying, even if it is a truth, then even if one says, it will always remain as truth. If it is the wrong statement, then no matter how many people are there, but still it will be the false. So in the same way, like being like Lord Buddha found that truth, and then we all support. Like theoretically we don't support, but like when we do our daily work, then we support all these things, all these negative things. So therefore, when we support, it does not mean that it will become true. But if it is in politics or in the democracy, then the majority wins. But here, when it comes to reality, I don't think the majority wins the power. So it has to depend on that one. So therefore, here, when we analyze, so like analyzing that kind of thing into that relative level, and then I will go a little bit on the ontological level. So according to most of the like in the Mahayana tradition, like most prevalent commentaries we can find from the Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara. So there he was quite refuting, like some of the thoughts that some people might say that mind is within our body, or mind is outside our body. So like he was saying, it is not in the body, yet it is nowhere else. It does not merge with it. It does not merge with it, with our body, nor stand apart independently. Nor it does not stand independently. So something such as this does not exist. Something such as this independently existence does not exist even slightly. It does not exist. He said that. As said in the Ratna Karuta, like it's one of the sutras, the mind is not within. It states, the mind is not within, the mind is not without, neither or both. So one cannot point it out. Later, again it continues, and then the later part comes, the mind, O Kasyapa, even all the Buddhas have never seen it, and they do not see it, and they never shall. So like that kind of mind is not existent when we investigate through the ultimate level. So it's talking from the ultimate level. It does not exist. And the Prashna Paramita, again, the Prashna Paramita Sutra says in the 8,000 verses that mind indeed is not mind. The nature of mind is lucid clarity. As one of my friends has mentioned, that mind can be sometimes like a mirror, whatever we project, it reflects the same thing. So it's a lucid clarity. The nature of mind is lucid clarity, which means it transfers all kind of our conceptual thoughts of beginning, and then the birth, and then the death, and all these things. So it transfers everything. So in that way, he tried to establish that mind does not exist. Like in the mind that we say, it does not exist in the ultimate level. Everything that when it talks about like in the ultimate level, it does not exist. So that is how he has refuted, about the mind, and then now I shall talk about the phenomena. The cross placement phenomena. Okay, phenomena. The analysis of all phenomena. The analysis of all phenomena with discriminating awareness and resting in the state of selflessness. So here, it is talking about all the phenomena. That includes everything. That includes everything. So like here, that the confusion, the main antidote for the phenomena, the mindfulness of phenomena is to clarify, or is to give the answer that who believe that the phenomena is permanent, who believe that the phenomena exists inherently. So like in that one, like Buddha said that, that there is no phenomena that is inherently existent. So Shantideva quote, I'll quote one Shantideva's word: if phenomena are truly analyzed, no basis for analysis remain, and the object is removed, the subject too resides. Okay, so indeed there is no, so that indeed is said to be nirvana. So with this one, I would like to come to the conclusion. Okay, so I also like sometimes it is very important to give give the idea through examples. So before I conclude, I would like to give that idea. So basically, our mind is analogous. Our mind is given example as a crazy monkey. Not crazy. It can be monk, it can be anyone also. Doesn't mean only monk. It can be the lay people if someone is crazy. So mindfulness is analogous to rope, and then introspection, investigating, is analogous to the policeman, but the honest policeman. And sloth and lethargy is analogous to thief. That feeling of laziness and don't want to do practice is analogous to thief. So in a nutshell, mindfulness meditation like Vipassana meditation are benefiting and becoming well known to all the world. If a meditator practicing strenuously and perseverancely, his concentration will become deep and firm. May the teaching benefit all the humanity irrespective of religion background. And may I dedicate the collective merit that we may have accumulated for the well-being of all sentient beings. In this entire explanation of profound teaching, if I have misinterpreted or misunderstood anything, I deeply confess all my error in front of the sublime scholars and masters. May we fulfill the great aspiration of our great teacher, and particularly His Holiness Dalai Lama's commitment of religious harmony, not only within our tradition, but also the entire world religion for the betterment of human being. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Venerable Pema Wangdokji, for your beautiful presentation and the special word that you quoted, Man ka Gulam, and from a very revolutionary monk about crazy and lazy monk. And I quote one of the teachings of the Buddha. The essence is like that: Eth pasmitham lokam chittam rajpathpam isvala visudanti nathi sango vijanatam. Really, the mind is very important, and laziness and craziness do create defilement in the minds. So thank you very much, Venerable. Beautiful presentation. Now, again from the Mahayana tradition, we are going to the Nalanda tradition. We have with us Professor Dr. Rana Purushottamji. He is the assistant professor in Nalanda Mahavihar. We have been talking since morning about the Nalanda tradition and Nalanda. My birthplace is Nalanda, and also the Nalanda Mahavihar. I have never been a formal student, but all the masters and seers, they blessed me, and we are very fortunate to have a scholar from Nam Nalanda Mahavihar, Dr. Rana Purushottamji. He will be giving his presentation. I think there will be the blend of, I can say, because he is from Nalanda, Nam Nalanda Mahavihar, the Mahayana and Theravada tradition. I would like to read out some of his citations. Dr. Rana Purushottam Kumar Singh started his academic career as assistant professor in Department of Buddhist Studies, University of Delhi. After completing MPhil and PhD in same department and from the same university, in September 2010, he was appointed as assistant professor, Department of Pali, Nam Nalanda Mahavihar, Nalanda, Bihar, a Divine University and the Ministry of Culture. In pursuance of his research, he has presented a number of papers in various seminars and conferences held from time to time in India and abroad. He has many published articles and books to his credit. In order to broaden his academic horizon and expand insightful paradigms, Dr. Rana has done field work in different archaeological sites in Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Pakistan, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, China, in search of tangible as well as intangible Buddhist heritage. In 2015, Dr. Rana was sent to Medan in Jakarta as expert on Buddhist during the Buddha Charika exhibition organized by the Ministry of Culture Department, Government of India, Embassy in India. In Jakarta and Nam Nalanda Mahavihar, Dr. Rana Purushottam Kumar Singh has also been associated as a member with various professional academic bodies of eminence such as SSER, ICAPS, ISBS, IOC, IHC, IPC, BLA. So ladies and gentlemen, let us listen to Rana Purushottamji.
Respected Chairman, my teacher, Professor S.R. Bhatt, Professor L.P. Singh, Professor Asanga, my mentor, Director of Tibet House, Gese Damdul Ji. Whenever I feel I come to him and take his guidance in the field of Buddhist studies, in theory and practices. Now, because of him, today I am here to share my views, my ideas on Buddhism and Buddhist philosophy. Friends, reading books is not sufficient to understand Buddhist philosophy. One has to make his body laboratory, his own laboratory, and then he has to understand each and every nuance of Buddhism. Buddha Ghosh has talked about four sagar, four ocean in this world. The one is Jal Sagar, the ocean of water, everybody knows. Another is Sansar Sagar, the whole world is a sagar, a ocean. The third one is Naya Sagar, the wisdom of the knowledge enshrined in Buddhist scriptures is also a sagar, a ocean. And the fourth one is Jnana Sagar, the knowledge, the ocean of knowledge. We are discussing this Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. This Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta is also an ocean in itself. This is not a simple word, and this is not a fourfold methodology, that is Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Dhammanuchittanupassana and Dhammanupassana. This is not so simple. Friends, in modern times, this is the era of 21st century, is Thanksgiving century to the Buddha. Now modern science, modern economics, modern ecology and environmental science, everybody recognizes Buddhist scriptures and philosophy and theory and philosophy of Buddha. The Monash University of Australia This is a very good university known for psychology, psychological studies. They have established one course, mindfulness-based psychotherapy, and they give diploma in mindfulness-based psychotherapy to their students. And the many doctors of Europe and America, they are practicing modern medicine with mindfulness. There was a big gathering in Bangkok, in Mahidol University. They invited hundreds of doctors from different parts of the world, those who are practicing mindfulness in their medical practice, professional practices. And there was a wonderful result. I was also one of them. I was invited as Buddhist scholars and participant observer. There was a wonderful result. When they applied mindfulness on their patients, they divided different groups and they started practicing mindfulness and with medicine, and the impact of medicine was wonderful. So friend, this is the power of mindfulness studies in the world. This is an ocean in itself, because through mindfulness we study each and every cell of the body. The millions of cells of our body we try to activate through mindfulness practices. When we sit on Vipassana meditation, and the 5th day, the instruction of SN Goenka comes and they say that just see the sensation from toe to the head. All cells, you will feel sensation in all cells of your body, from toe, from leg to head. The millions of cells are getting activated, and their experience is unique. So, and one thing, the Buddha has given fourfold methodology to understand the problem. And that can be applied in each and every aspect of our life, whether it is individual life or it is social life or national life or international life. To understand the problem first, to understand the genesis of the problem, to understand the removal of the problem, and to understand the path leading towards the removal of the problem. This is the method in modern medical science also, but it has been given by Buddha 2600 years ago. So, and in scriptures, of course, it has been said that one Satipaṭṭhāna is sufficient to get Nibbana. One Satipaṭṭhāna, but one has to get Paramita, complete perfection in one Satipaṭṭhāna. And if we are perfect in one Satipaṭṭhāna, then automatically it will lead to the another one. Automatically it will lead to the next one, and automatically lead to the last one. Because this is dependent on each other. This is not an independent phenomena. This is not an independent thing. And why Satipaṭṭhāna? Why Buddha has given Satipaṭṭhāna, the preachings of Satipaṭṭhāna? This is very important. At the one hand, Buddha has given Four Noble Truths. Under the same umbrella, he has given the path leading towards the removal of the suffering. And then he has given the threefold methodology, that is Anicca, Anatta and Dukkha. Anicca, the impermanence, is the mother of many schools of philosophy in Buddhism. This is very powerful point given by the Buddha, Anicca, because we can feel, and we feel in everyday life, that how Anicca is dominant in our life, how Anicca lead to the development, origin and development of Madhyamik school of philosophy. Anatta. Anatta is also related with Anityata. Through Anatta, we understand a permanent soul. We have an idea of a permanent soul. But according to Buddhism, there is nothing like permanent soul. There is nothing. So, this is also a another interpretation of anicca. And dukh is also whatever sabbam dukkham. Why sabbam dukkham? Because every created world, every constructed thing is dependently originated. And whatsoever is dependently originated is a matter of suffering. It is not a matter of happiness. So, anitya, anatma and dukkha, you can ultimately, this is the interpretation of further development of anicca. It discusses the different nuances of anicca. And so why Satipaṭṭhāna? There is 3 steps in Buddhism. That is Pariyatti, Patipatti and Pativedhan. Pariyatti is very important. To know the Naya Sagar, the scriptural depository of the Buddhist philosophy. And after Naya Sagar, after the Pariyatti, one has to practice. One has to practice Buddhist philosophy, because only going through the scriptures, only going through the text, one cannot understand. And I am the one of the example. When I was studying Abhidharma in Delhi University, my teacher used to say, for each and every consciousness, we have 89 types of consciousness, for each and every consciousness you have to make your body your own laboratory. And try to understand why so manasa sagatang yana sampayuttang sasankharikang. Why this is, why it happens. And I used to think day and night. Why this is so manasa sagatang yana sampayuttang sasankharikang and asankharikang. So this is not a simple thing. Understanding Buddhism, understanding Buddhist philosophy is not a theory part. It is not theoretical. And then, when you are perfect in Pariyatti theory, you are practicing the theory, then Pativedhan automatically come. The realization will come automatically. Because realization dependent on Patipatti and Patipatti dependent on Pariyatti. Because here when I was going through the Satipaṭṭhāna, there is Sarag Chittang. And there is one point, Sarag Chittang, very simple. But without Pariyatti, one cannot understand the Atthadha Lobh Mulak Chitta. If you have Pariyatti, the base of Pariyatti, then you can understand the Atthadha Lobh Mulak Chitta. So manasa sagatang dithigat sampayuttang sasankharikang asankharikang. And then you have to understand what happens when there is so manasa sagatang with mental pleasant feeling and dithigat sampayuttang with false views. When we take bribe, when we receive wrong things for which we are not authorized, then there is ditthi. There is ditthi, false view, then we can understand, we receive the thing for which we are not authorized. This is the reality. So, each and every 3 parts, one is intentional, another is intentional, and third one is automatic. The resultant, Pariyatti is intentional, you have to practice. Practice for study, Patipatti practice for practice, and Pativedhan is resultant. Resultant based on Pariyatti and Patipatti. This is very practical thing. So, and 4 Satipaṭṭhānas, Kayanupassana, of course. On the basis of Kayanupassana, you can be easily, the Vedananupassana will be easily understandable to you. One can understand Vedananupassana. And on basis of Vedananupassana, one can understand Chittanupassana. And after Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana and Chittanupassana, then one can understand Dhammanupassana. Because Dhammanupassana is crux. And The whole Abhidhamma structure and whole sutta is merged with Satipaṭṭhāna. The Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta or Satipaṭṭhāna, because it is a summary. It summarizes the whole scriptures. I am giving you some examples how it summarizes, how it has incorporated the whole Buddha Vachana. Whether it is in Theravada, whether it is in Mahayana, whether it is in Tibetan Buddhism or Tantrayana. Practice is practice. Suppose we study about Chittanupassana. For your glimpse of exposure, the Sarag Chittam. My previous scholar has beautifully analyzed graphically. Sarag Chittam. Commentary says, Atthvidhang lobh sahagatang chittang. There are 8 types of consciousness rooted in greed. Without Abhidharma, without Pariyatti, can anybody understand this Satipaṭṭhāna? Is it possible? You have to study the 8 types of Sarag Chitta, 8 types of Atthvid Lobh Mulak Chitta. Again, Vitarag Chitta, Lokiya Kusala Vyakar Chittam. Again, 8 types of Kusal Chitta and Kriya Chitta, like this. Sados Chitta, Buddha has explained the consciousness of criminal. When we commit crime, the dos, the dves, the destruction of other, the feeling of destruction of other is dominant on the personality. And this is not somanasa, this is domanasa, unpleasant mental feeling. Whenever a criminal commits crime, there is unpleasant mental feeling in his mind. And with unpleasant mental feeling, he is committing crime, and the main factor is dvesh, hatred. So these are the things. Without a scripture, we cannot understand the Satipaṭṭhāna. Satipaṭṭhāna is not a simple, the 4 elements. In the same way, Vita dosam chittam, samoh chittam, the samoh, the delusion. Moh means not the attachment. Moh means delusion, avidya. Dhamma sabhav patichhadan lakhanang avidya. When it covers the nature of the Dhamma, when it covers the nature of the Dhamma, Dhamma sabhav patichhadan. Moh arises when the nature, the real nature of Dhamma is covered. What is the real nature of the Dhamma? Sabbe sankhara anityati yada panyaya passati tang nibbindati dukkhe es dhammo sanantano. Sabbe sankhara dukkha. Like this, anitya, anatma and dukkha. This is the real nature. The real nature is Four Noble Truth. The real nature is dependently originated. The things, the phenomena, the constructed things, Sanskrit was things are dependently originated. So these are the things we have to understand the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. Suppose Vikhitta Chittang, suppose Mahaggat Chittang. Mahaggat Chittang, again the commentary gives you a simple lead, arrow mark. Mahaggat Chittang means Rupavachar Chitta. You have to understand the 5 types of Rupavachar Chitta. Vitak vichar piti sukhe kagata sahitang pathama jhanang, dutiya jhanang, tatiya jhanang, chaturtha jhanang, panchamang jhanang. The same way Kusal Chit, the same way Vipak Chit, and the same way Kriya Chit. Is it possible to understand Satipaṭṭhāna without a scripture? Again, amahaggat chittam, that is arupavachar chit. Akasanam chayatan, viyananam chayatan, nev sanyayatan, akinchayatan. What is akinchayatan? Akinchayatan is the seed for understanding anicchata. This is the garbha, which keeps all possibilities of understanding anicchata. So this way we can understand. 1 minute. 2-3 more minutes. It's okay, my request to the chair.
Go ahead with 3 minutes.
So these are the things. These are the bases for understanding Satipaṭṭhāna. When we enter into Dhammanupassana, crux of all three, above three. And moving towards the understanding of Satipaṭṭhāna, three characteristics of the world should be kept in mind. Anicchata, anatta and dukkha. All steps of, when we understand chitta, all aspects of chitta, the 89 types of chitta as anicca, it will be changed from one to another, from one to another to another. So, the Kayanupassana, the Vedananupassana, the Chittanupassana, again we enter. Before entering into the Dhammanupassana, again we go to the previous three. This is an essential part of Dhammanupassana. And then the hindrances, the five defilements, how this arises and how this ceases. So, this way we proceed in Dhammanupassana. And friends, in Dhammanupassana, we study the complete hindrances and fetters, which are the most negative aspect of human personality. It means not, while you are practicing, you must practice आलस्य. पहले सो के देख लेते हैं, फिर अभ्यास करेंगे, तब हमें आलस्य का अभ्यास होगा. No. You have base, a scriptural base, that is pariyatti. Pariyatti will show you the nature of the alasya. Pariyatti will show you the nature of the dvesh. And on the basis of your previous experiences, which is stored in your cortex, here, while studying Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, the classical science and modern science, the Buddhist science and modern science, this is the combination of both the sciences. The all things deposited in your cortex, in your brain, will guide you for the further advancement in the practices, and then ultimately you will attain the final goal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana Purushottamji, for your wonderful presentation. And he described the various facets of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, and very in his own, on the basis of his own cultivation of wisdom. And I can say, Buddha said, avidya paramalam. Friends, we lack the time because session is already running late, and we have to catch up the next session as well. Thank you very much, all our speakers, and also you ladies and gentlemen, including the venerable and senior professors. But I can say this session of Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta was very wonderful, and the deliberations, I am sure, will contribute to the well-being of all of us. This is the treasure that Buddha gave us, and I quote a teaching from the Sanskrit canon, and that is Yo dhurvani paritajya adhurvani nishevate dhurvani tasya nashyanti adhurvam nastme vahi. I can say in Hindi, जिसे फालतू समझकर बुझा दिया तूने, जिसे फालतू समझकर बुझा दिया तूने, उसी चिराग को जलाओ तो फिर रोशनी होगी. भवतु संभ मंगलम. साधु साधु साधु.
Thank you to all the speakers and Dr. Arvind Alok ji for sharing the session. May I now request Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji, Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation, to present the souvenirs to our speakers. Dr. Arvind Alok ji. Venerable Geshe Dinzi Thamjula. Dr. Animesh Prakash ji. Venerable Lobim Pema Wantala. And Dr. Rana Purushottam ji. Thank you, Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji. We'll now break for the evening tea, and the next session is on a special lecture on overview of 4 mindfulness in Pali Sutra by Professor Asanga Tilak Ratne ji. We'll break for tea and we'll come back at 4:45 p.m. Thank you.